What's up, guys? Welcome to the 107th episode of The Get Down, presented by Digital Music Poll. My name is Kareem.
Gary W. here.
We have a very special guest. Everyone listening, all you DJs, you know this person because you definitely play his music. Alex Dynamix, what's up, bro?
Hey, guys, what's going on? So glad to be here on the podcast with you guys and see what I can do maybe to help out the DJ community, to share any type of knowledge.
That's what we're here for, definitely, is to help out the DJ community. And I think that you're going to have a lot of knowledge to impart, especially for young and up and coming DJs that are looking to do the things that you're already doing. But I have to start with a hilarious story. I think we were talking. Cream and I were talking.
I didn't even tell you this yet, Alex.
Oh, okay. I gotta hear this.
Cream and I are talking last week, and he's like, "Oh, like, guess who I talked to?" Or no, I spoke to Alex Dynamix earlier today or yesterday or 2 days ago. He's like, I forgot to tell you. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. I was like, you got it. I was like, knock it off. I was like, he is my number one go-to Latin editor out of anybody. Like because, okay, little story here. I do a monthly Latin party. I don't speak a lick of Spanish. I'm not Spanish at all by any means. But I kind of have a general knowledge of the music, but I'm not really up on radio stuff and pop stuff. So like, I don't know what's like hitting on Latin radio, right? Outside of like the stuff that goes super mainstream. So whenever I'm downloading and you've done an edit of a Latin track, I download it immediately, like no matter what. Because I figure that, okay, if there's a barometer for like what's kind of like not super pop, but like still pop enough to be like a little fringy. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to grab this. I'll play it. I'll see how it goes. And, and to be honest, I have like over 100 of your edits. It's like insane. And it's like, I lean on a lot of that stuff. So when he said your name, I almost fell over.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Feel humbled. Thank you. Yeah. Just trying to do my part in the DJ community. That's all.
No, man, and you've been making music for a long time, and it's not just Latin music. You've been making a lot of like EDM remixes and edits, which are also super playable. And it's great to see as a fellow editor that that journey of starting with edits and kind of like moving into originals and remixes and stuff. So what's that process been for you, and what made you basically make the jump from being an editor to actually going in and making remixes and originals?
Well, if I'm going to be totally honest, I actually started making originals before I started making edits. So I was about 13 years old, and I started on a program called Magic's Deluxe 6. It was on PC, and I used to make trance, techno, house music, stuff like that. And I would infuse Latin sounds. It was just like, messing around as a kid with stuff like that. And then eventually, once I got into the DJ world and everything like that, I started making mashups. Blends, very simple stuff. At the beginning, I started even with Audacity. So I don't know, a lot of people know that program very well. And then
I still use it sometimes to like export MP3s.
It has a really good insane preset on it when you export to MP3s.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. But I started doing that, and then I worked in GarageBand and worked my way up through there. I've worked through different DAWs, but basically, I mean, it was just little ideas here and there, like what could improve a track. Maybe it was more for a bar, a club, a venue that I would do. So I just self-taught myself little by little. I just learned the DAW, the software, how everything works, and just worked from there. I mean, that was pretty much it. I mean, there's not much to it. The only thing I could say is just a lot of hard work and dedication, research to the music, and little by little just progressing, just pushing yourself, pushing your limits every single time you do. So yeah, like I said, I did blends, I did stuff like that. Then like I already had slightly a musical background, because I did like piano for about 6 years. I played guitar, I played trombone. I played a lot of them. I wasn't any good, but I played all these different instruments. So throughout time. So all those little things I think added to that helped me to get to the point where I'm at now, where I can produce originals, remixes and stuff like that as well.
It's super interesting because usually you hear everybody going from doing edits and bootlegs and that stuff to going to originals. Did that make producing the edits easier, that you kind of started with originals? Or do you feel like it was still like just, I guess it is always a learning curve, but I feel like, but for the creativity portion of it, did you feel like it was easier to go into edits?
I think it did. It made it pretty simple for me. The only thing is I'm a perfectionist at times. So I'll go over like a little detail like 20, 30, 40, 100 times. You know, if you see like how many renditions I did of one track, like, are you serious? Like, just export and get it over with. The track is over, and like the club DJ or the DJ is going to play it on the radio for maybe a minute and a half tops, right? But all that stuff matters to me because, you know, obviously my name's on it, and that, you know, I want my quality of work to be up there. But yeah, it did help. It did help a lot. When I guess I had that background to help to switch over to start doing edits and stuff like that.
Kind of funny you said that you're a perfectionist, because Cream and I were working on a track last week and I played it in the club and I went back to him and he's like, dude, we're just splitting hairs here. I was like, you got to adjust the vocal like this much, and like it just didn't sound right. Like I was mixing out and it just sounded off. And he's like, dude, I'm not messing with this vocal anymore.
First of all, we like mess with the vocal so much that by the time we actually came up with a finished edit, I'm like, I never want to play this song because I can't listen to the vocal anymore. I hate it.
That happens to me all the time. I'm like, I don't want to hear this song ever. Like,
that's why, like, I make so many edits and I send them all out, and it's like I don't always play them all the time because some of them I've spent so much time on it where it's like, all right, I'm over this. Like, I just listened to this vocal so many times I can't listen to it. I went the opposite way from you. So I started edits and then went to originals and remixes. And now going back to the edit world, I have to constantly tell myself, like, bro, this is just an edit. Like, you don't have to do all this extra stuff. Like, just make it sound good and make it playable for the DJs and pump these things out. And I'm like overproducing these edits, and I'm like, Cream, tone it down. Let's just pump these out.
Yeah, I think that's my challenge right now. At times, I overproduce and edit. And like sometimes when I work with other people too on collab, sometimes when you collab with other people, they also do the same thing. They're like, hey, they want to overproduce. Like, you may be like, I'm on a simplified mindset, I'm trying to get it out the door, and they come in and they're like, add this. By the time you're done, it's like almost a full-on like production work. Like, it's almost a remix that you made instead of an actual edit.
Yeah, we went through that for years, Cream and I, when we were doing edits together. And it was like, we got to the end and we're like, okay, we're done. Now, do we call it a remix or?
Gary always has really great ideas that he would bring to the table. And like, sometimes they would be easy to make happen. And other times we'd have to like really, really work it to make it, finesse it and like create full builds and all this stuff. And now it's like, Gary, we're not doing this one. Sorry, man.
Cream's got the knowledge, behind the computer, and I'm more the idea guy. So, sometimes he just has to cut me short and be like, that's just not feasible.
that happens. That happens, especially if you're collabing. I'll be bringing out shortly in the next weeks, maybe in the next few days, I'll be bringing out some videos, some content on social media of me collabing with some people, other DJs and artists as well. And you can definitely see that in the videos where like I'm the one more on the computer, and then they're like throwing out ideas like shorten this, do this, cut this, do that, stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. And then the times you're like, hey, like, all right, stop playing with this. Like, we're wasting time, let's get on to the next project. So
yeah.
If that stuff comes out by the time this comes out, I'll link all that stuff. I'll link all those videos in the bio.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
It's funny you bring up content, right? Like, Gary and I are always talking, even for this podcast, we're like, well, we have so much content, we just need to like make it look nice and clean it up. And I think just in talking to a lot of DJs, we all know we need to be putting out content, and especially video right now. But I think people we all get overwhelmed, right? It's like hard. It's like, well, what direction should I go? And there's all these DJs, they're doing rundowns, or you know, the various different kinds of TikToks that are coming out from DJs. So it's like, how do you come up with the content that you're going to put out?
Like social media content, we're talking about video.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're talking about like the content you're creating as a producer that you're going to put out. Like, what do you, how do you come up with the ideas for the video content for social?
Oh, the video content. A lot of times I honestly, it's just like, I feel like everything is borrowed from everyone. So nothing is like necessarily 100% original. So you might see somebody like do this thing on their social media with a video, and then you might see somebody else do something else, and you're like, hey, I like all these ideas. Let me combine them all together and do something like that. And then sometimes you have an epiphany and you just, you make your own, originality to the video itself or to a picture or something like that. But in most cases, I just want to make sure that like what I've been trying to focus on more is how would I say, trying to look more, for instance, at the camera when like I take videos. I'm doing also like pictures, things of that sort, any type of content. I feel like a lot of us, when they take pictures of us or video, we have Serato face going on, so it's like you can't really see like what our reaction is, our mood is, what our energy is like on those pictures or on those videos. So I've been trying to focus on that too. Another thing is like the way I appear and I look. I used to wear a lot of hats. For instance, if you can see, I have already a collection behind me there of hats that I love wearing. It's part of the DJ culture, sneakers, hats, stuff like that, wearing shirts and stuff that are, have to do with DJing. But every DJ is doing that. And it's like, are you trying to distinguish yourself from the others, or are you trying to blend in? And obviously, like if you distinguish yourself, you want to, excel, you want to get up higher and things of that sort. So now I've been like trying to make sure that maybe my wear that I put on the content is a little bit more fashionable, maybe more cleaner looking. I don't look like I just put on some sweats or some pants and, ran out the door kind of thing. Obviously I comb my hair now, so why I grew it out. I used to have it like super short and just throw like a ball cap on it and like call it a day. But if you look at like some of the most successful DJs and artists out there, not all of them obviously, but some of them out there, like they're a little bit more concentrated on their looks, because the DJ world has shifted a lot to the aesthetic side now.
Right.
So you want to make sure that like your content, like I said, the pictures are clear, they're clean, they look good. Your videos as well, it has good sound quality, it's catchy, there's energy behind it, depending on what you're trying to show on that. So another thing is like, I don't always try to show maybe me DJing, because imagine like you have 50, 100, 200, 2,000 posts on social media and you're DJing in every single one of them. Right. Yeah. You're like, oh, well, that gets redundant, it gets tiring. So it's maybe I'll take pictures in a photo shoot, or like pictures in a specific area, in another country, or maybe I'm visiting another state or something like that. So I'll take pictures, I'll take videos, stuff like that. So now I'm trying to focus on things like that. Maybe add a little nature here, life experiences, because it's like that all comes with the DJ culture now. So especially if you're traveling, what do you do when you travel? Well, obviously you sleep in a hotel, you get on an airplane, you experience the different things of that city that you're going to, you get to meet new people, you make new friends, you make, new acquaintances, business relationships, etc., things like that. So all that stuff you want to integrate into your social media content now, especially when you're trying to attract, attention to yourself as an artist.
It's incredible advice. For anybody, number one. And number two, something that we push a lot on this podcast is just that self-assessment, being able to like look at yourself and be like, oh, I'm not smiling enough in pictures, or I look a little disheveled here, and not like always thinking, oh, I look great and like whatever, you know what I mean? Not like feeling yourself too much. So that number one is very hard to do. And to be able to realize that, hey, I need to kind of set myself apart is just so important. And sometimes I feel like we do just get comfortable in what we are wearing or how we look, or even the music that we're playing. Right. So I think all of those things are extremely important. There's great advice for anybody, for any DJ, not just young DJs.
Yeah. I think there were two things that I want to touch on that you brought up. Number one is just really like kind of having a strategy around what you're going to do, right? And like you said, sometimes you're taking from other people because maybe you look up to that person or that person's doing really well, or you really like the way that their page looks. But I think if you take a little bit from a bunch of different people that you think are doing a great job, and that helps create your own brand and your own, the way you put yourself out into the world, especially on social, or the way you look, like how you dress. So I think like taking from other people and making it your own, but then also having a strategy around how you're going to put that out into the world is really important, and can help a great deal in putting out good content and just being noticed more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, I think, important, especially for the modern day DJ now, since we wear so many hats now. We're not just DJs like back in the day. We used to just show up to a gig and just play music. Now we have to be social media managers and content creators. We have to promote ourselves. Now we have to be producers as well, stuff like that. So it's like a bunch of hats we have to wear now.
It's no different than how it was for years, forever, for like small bands. If you think about it, right? Like small bands had to do all of that stuff, put up, go town to town and put up their posters. And, I'm talking like way back in the day, and like do all that stuff. Like the DJ is the modern rock star at this point, right? And the thing you said about dress kind of had my mind going, because I saw a band like in a pretty public place, and then they came off stage and they looked so like out of this world. It was like, you people don't fit in public. But that's because of what their stage attire is just so different. It's more flamboyant. It's, it's loud. It's in your face. Like you're watching it on stage and it makes sense. And then it comes off stage and you're like, what the fuck am I looking at? But that's it. But you're exactly right. You shouldn't, you can look at it like, oh, like I probably shouldn't look like everybody else in the crowd. It's good to set yourself apart in some way, and like what comes to mind, like Timmy Trumpet has his hat, and everybody has like, there are some bigger DJs that have those little idiosyncrasies that work for them. So that's extremely good advice.
We went down this content path. We hadn't really planned on doing it, but I'm glad we did. This is a good combo. But I want to kind of get back to where we started, right? With the production and edits. You're rocking the headliner t-shirt right now. So you're an exclusive remixer on Headliner. I'm on Digital Music Pool. Digital Music Pool is one of our sponsors. But I love Headliner. It's probably my next favorite record pool to go and download from. And Gary and I were talking about this the other day. They're Vegas based, right? Or LA, West Coast based for sure, right?
Yeah, we're in LA.
And it's like, it's funny to me how an East Coast DJ playing mostly all East Coast shows, like loves pulling from the West Coast record pool, but it kind of works. It gives me another perspective on like other things that are happening. And I just really like a lot of the exclusive editors on there. But how did you link up with HMC, and talk a little bit about, what you guys have got going on over there?
HMC. So, basically, I think it was 2018 or 2017, one of the 2 years. I can't remember. Been with HMC like 4 or 5 years now. I actually just got reached out by Eric Deluxe. He hit me up on a DM one day and said that I had been recommended, as an editor, and they'd like to bring me on board, and see what it was. And from there, I met all the guys there. To be honest, I didn't even know. The only one I knew on HMC was Beatbreaker, and that's because technically, I don't know if anybody knows, but I'm originally from Baltimore DC. So I grew up on the East Coast. I grew up, DJing all over the East Coast as a younger DJ, younger artist. And Beatbreaker obviously is from there. I mean, me and him were both on Crooklyn Clan. I mean, obviously him a lot longer than me. So yeah, they just reached out to me, and Eric just hit me up, and I met him, I met Scratchy, DJ5, and then I linked up with all the other guys that are also on the team. I mean, we're a very small group, to be honest. We're one of the smaller record pools, but I think that we concentrate more on quality as to quantity when it comes to the music scene. We also are a little bit more like electronic based, but we do have a good amount of hip hop. And then obviously, since I came on, we've also tried to improve on the Latin side too, on there too. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty much one of the in-house editors for HMC was I guess had used a lot of my edits and had seen them on SoundCloud. I had, like I said, I've been on other record pools, so that's where they came on, and they asked me, you know, to join the team, and they're pretty steady guys. They're pretty cool. Easy to get along with. I mean, we get along with every record pool, to be honest. We're not one of those record pools that has, like, you know, beef with anyone.
Yeah.
You know, hey, we don't like this guy. So it's like, you know, if you like see like DJ5 has like music and edits from every single record pool, and he'll play them too. Like, he's not even ashamed to do it. So yeah.
I got a couple questions. Were you with LMP at the time that they asked you to come on? Number one. The reason I asked that is because were they familiar with your Latin edits more, or were they more familiar with your like more mainstream edits?
LMP, I joined actually only about a year ago.
Really?
Yeah, and LMP, it's so odd because LMP is more East Coast based than anything else, and it's like once I left the East Coast, then I joined LMP. So
we were looking at the roster. It was like, damn, there's a lot of DJs.
A lot.
157.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Worldwide. Right? Largest Latin DJ agency in the world.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But we get promotions and we get sponsored by big name artists. Like right now, we're working on a promotion for Nicky Jam and his latest track that's about to drop right now. We also been working on that new Prince Royce track. Prince Royce's manager and their team reaches out a lot to us, and we work and we promote them a lot because we have a deal with them as well. So LMP's been around like what, I don't know, like 15 years and stuff like that. So they got some pretty big name DJs on the roster there too. It's like DJ Adoni, who's like produced a bunch of tracks with Farruko, you know, including Pepas. So he was on there. Chewy, I don't know if you guys heard of Chewy. Chewy's blowing up.
We had Chewy on the show. I used to open for Chewy in Jersey, like when I first started DJing.
Yeah, so we got all these guys, you know, that are on there who's like veterans, you know, so you know that have been around for quite a long time. So LMP's obviously very well known, even without the Latin world. I mean, I guess they're very well known, especially since you guys are like based out of the tri-state, right? So it's huge out there. But no, I mean, I think they were more aware. I mean, my edits were on their record pool that they had for a long time, because I can trace back a lot of stuff before HMC. So I think I just had there was never an open opportunity or an opening to join LMP until about a year ago. And I had actually forgotten. I mean, as a younger DJ, I had wanted to always join LMP. It was like especially like if you're in the Latin world, it's like a huge like landmark to have that badge of honor of being part of, you know, LMP. LMP was huge back in the day before record pools even existed, especially for Latin music. LMP was around. They'd actually give away the edits and the music for free. I don't know if you guys recall that time. So yeah, I don't know. It was I think through mutual friends as well. A lot of the DJs who are associated or close friends of mine are also on LMP as well. So I don't know. I'd say it's a combination of everything.
Right.
Yeah.
I think being associated with all these different brands and different companies, like, it's great for you because they're going to put your brand and your name out into the world. But I think it's great for us as DJs too, because we get to then network with all the other people on these different. So, you know, even DMP, like all these guys are from all over the world. I would never have spoken to them really unless we all work together. And like, I think it's just really cool that being a part of these different groups, you create these little small cultures and you get to talk to and potentially work with these guys and girls that you maybe never would have had the chance to. And in return, you know, your name gets put out. I know they're doing like 1 million streams a month or something on all the mixes that they're putting out too. So
yeah,
that's crazy.
They have a ton, and their network is huge. Like I put out a mix there, and I think it has like 250,000 plays on it.
Yeah, so that's crazy.
Yeah, it was insane. I was like, whoa. I didn't think that was like possible, especially like for me, like I think the most I've had is like 30 or 40,000 plays, on Mixcloud. So, that's about it. But yeah, I mean, like it's great to work with all these different platforms. I mean, yeah, they promote your brand, but also at the same time you promote theirs, because like it's an exchange that you're doing there. So obviously you come in, you have your following, and you help them out, and obviously you adapt to other ones. But yeah, it is really nice. Especially like I don't know if you guys have been to any like the DJ like seminars, or like, how would you say those are called? Like, for instance, one of them this summer was like Scam Summer. Obviously you guys know who Scam Artist is, right?
Yeah.
So they have that one. I think there was like Beyond the Music, I think was like in Arizona or something like that. Which I think was like in June or July or something like that, which I think was like based off of DJ City.
Yeah.
Like that. So
we're gonna go to that one next year, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So all these, like, they also help out to like be able to network, and you find out like who truly like is in there, like to who follows you, obviously, who supports you, supports your kind of like your career, because obviously, I wouldn't be here if DJs wouldn't support me. So, by downloading my music, using them to enhance their sets, which is usually which is my purpose. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool that, I get to exchange, and I make new friendships. I make new, business relationships as well doing that way.
I like thinking about it as an exchange with the brands. I think you could also think about it as when you're getting booked and you're going to play at different venues, it's the same thing. Like, it's an exchange, right? They're booking you for your name and your talent, and to go there and get customers to have a good time and spend money. And at the same time, depending on the level of club, they're promoting you and helping you grow and building your name and helping you book higher and higher price gigs. So I love that you brought it up in that way, that it's an exchange, because it's the same thing what we do for nightlife,
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about you. You mentioned you're an East Coast guy living on the West Coast. You've lived in a bunch of different places. So a lot of the people that are listening, and a lot of the DJs that we work with on our team at Get Down, everybody talks about how one of their goals is to go travel, be a travel DJ, go play in different cities. So what's been your experience as far as leaving the East Coast, leaving your home city, and then going to the next city? What are some of the things that you do to not only be prepared prior to stepping foot in the new city, but also, being able to be booked when you get there?
Well, one of the things that's helped me a lot is obviously the brands that I'm on. So like being part of Headliners, LMP, radio DJs in Texas, and now I have like my own agency with a partner as well. We have our own brand, and we're working on building stuff like that too. So I've worked with several different brands, and that helps. So obviously they have a following; people know who you are in different states and stuff like that. Another thing is like for instance, when I made the move from DC to Texas, I had to start from zero again. I'll be honest. It's almost like you have to start over again to a certain point, and you have to be willing to work hard at, going down to the bottom and working your way back up again. If you do it right and you do it in a very professional manner and things like that, it shouldn't take you too long to build yourself back up, right? To do it that way. So what I did was, in the meantime, like obviously I'd still keep gigs on the East Coast. I fly back and forth to the East Coast, to places that I had already, established over many years. And then slowly I started taking gigs, in Texas, for instance. And I started, getting gigs there. And then I started, getting bigger that way too. So that helped me a lot. And then from there, like, playing in Texas, if you play in Texas, especially like the larger cities like Austin, Dallas, Houston, things like that, then all the other Midwest states, the smaller ones, who a lot of times people like ignore, but have like amazing nightlife scenes and like venues and stuff like that, they'll notice you. So they'll start booking you too. So they'll call you out. So it's, it helped with that way too, things of that sort. So I always say, like, if you move to a new city, go to a venue that, like, obviously, let's say there's a specific venue that you see and you're like, hey, that venue's popping, it's nice. Go in there, support the local DJs, support, the venue owners, just things of that sort, build a friendship with them. And then eventually over time, you know, you don't never know, like, hey, a spot may open up, or you may ask like, hey, are you guys hiring for DJs? Don't, you know, just like if you were looking for a regular 9 to 5 job or anything like that, you know, you can also go inquire, you know, hey, where are they hiring? Where are they picking up? Don't be afraid to sometimes take, you know, the smaller gigs to start off with, you know. And then also at the same time, wherever you came from, maintain those gigs, right? So you can still have steady income coming in and maintain your name in that region as well. So it's a little bit of a stretch. You're gonna have to do a little bit of extra work, you know, in it, but it pays off at the end of the day.
Yeah, I
It's
think
it's incredible
Gary.
how persistent you have to be. I mean, and we deal, Cream and I deal with it all the time with guys that want to work, but like they don't want to go out and do the legwork. It's like, yeah, we can all DM somebody, right? We can all text somebody. It takes a lot of effort for somebody to show up night after night, week after week, and actually support your company and actually support your party. And then that person that could potentially hire you, well, they get to understand who you are as a person, right? And then you gain a little bit of trust. And once that trust is built, then it becomes easier when somebody's like, oh, I'm sick, I'm not going to be able to make my gig later. Oh, well, I just saw Alex last night supporting my party, let me call him and see if he's available because I'm in a tough spot, right? And that persistence is really what's going to get you through the door. It's something that I completely have lacked in my movement to Florida. I've gone out like twice to nightlife. So like, I don't DJ down here, you know, but like, I've also been DJing for 21 years and I just don't want to be in a nightclub when I don't need to be, you know? So that's a little different, but I can speak to, you know, experience. Like, listen, I'm booked constantly up in Jersey. And, you know, obviously nobody knows who I am down here. You know, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter your following, doesn't matter how good of a DJ are. You got to go out and do that legwork, you know, and you obviously have been very good at doing that because you have DJ'd all over the place. So.
Yeah, and now that you're on your third city, you have 2 other cities that you can lean back on, and it's like now you have 3 cities at a minimum, 3 cities, major cities, home bases, where you could just fill your calendar off of those cities, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, I do. There's a bunch of little cities in between too. Like I said, like sometimes when you go to larger cities and other little cities notice and they add you. So
well, even here, like Hoboken, New Jersey is like a 10-minute train ride from New York City. So it's the same thing, but we have clubs here as well. And it's like, something you said before too, though, around the DJs that were kind of hanging out and being around. I lost my train of thought. I'm like losing my.
No, I actually had a quick question, and it's like super random question because we have a lot of guys that go down to Charleston from our market, from the New York, New Jersey market. And that's a small market. Do you ever find that like, and this is just top of mind because I was just booking a bunch of flights today. Do you ever find that flying into those cities is more difficult? And like, do you have to like build in extra days? Like, I know like Cream got stuck once because like there's one flight from Newark to Charleston and like, then he had to like fly into Atlanta and then figure that out. Like, so do you find that like traveling into those smaller cities is a little more difficult, and do you have to safeguard against it, if you will?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes flying into those smaller cities, it is a little bit more difficult. Sometimes you have to fly into a bigger city and then see if you can transport yourself, maybe even rent a car. I've seen do that, and drive to that city, you know, if it's not too much. For instance, a couple months ago, I had a conversation with DeVille, and he came here to San Antonio. And what did he do? He flew into, I think it was Dallas. He flew into Dallas, rented a car, and then drove to San Antonio, right? And I don't know if people know, but DeVille is now actually in Tampa. That's the area, St. Pete, Tampa. He's in that area now. He's not in Vegas anymore. And he had to do that, and I was like, that's insane, because that's like I think it's like a 6-hour car drive.
Yeah.
Or 4? Is it 4? I can't remember. I made it not too long ago. But yeah, it was like, wow. So yeah, sometimes like it's a little bit more difficult. And actually, not to say San Antonio is not actually even a small market, because it's a city of like 2 million people. Right. So it has a very large airport, and so it is. And Austin's right next door, which is like an hour away maybe, and there's another huge airport there too. So, but yeah, small cities like that, like for instance Charleston, sometimes yeah, it's a little bit more difficult. Flights are not as constant. I'll give you an example. One of them that I do a lot, several times a year, is like Omaha. Like you would think like Omaha, Nebraska, like what's out there, right? But it's a cool little city. I really like it. It has great culture. It's got great things there. It has a small nightlife scene, but the nightlife scene is lit. It's like very energetic. They have, you know, a lot of college kids, younger kids, things like that, and they dance. They want to be, you know, in a nightclub. They appreciate music. They enjoy the energy that you share with them. So like, I think the last time I was there, like I missed my flight, you know, and it was so difficult to try to get another flight out. Like I had to basically stay an extra day. So
Yeah.
that happens unless I wanted to like drive to like Lincoln, and I was like, I'm not driving to Lincoln, you know, that's like a whole another hour. And it's like, so, but yeah, it is sometimes a little bit challenging, especially when you go to like these smaller cities. I've never DJed actually in Charleston. It's probably a market that I would love to tap into, you know, in the future one day. But I have seen like a lot of DJs that I know who I'm friends with and stuff like that have DJed there and stuff like that. And I can definitely tell, like, you know, they have to take a couple extra little flights, like you know,
Yeah.
it's not a direct flight from wherever they're flying from, you know,
It's
to
funny
that.
it's funny you bring up Omaha, because when we had Beat Breaker on the show, he was like leaving the next day to go to Omaha. And it was just like, it sounded so weird at the time, but then like, because I knew that he went to go play there, it then got on my radar, and I could see that it must be fun because a bunch of DJs are going in and out of there.
Yeah. It's like a very untapped market, and I think that's what I'm really trying to focus on, because everybody's like, I want to DJ in LA, I want to DJ in Miami, I want to DJ in Vegas, I want to DJ in New York. You know, they want to DJ in all these main cities, and that's cool. Like, you know, never give up that dream. But there's a bunch of little markets out there, man. Like, you know, get your name out there too. Like tap into them. Like sometimes some of my favorite markets to DJ in are actually like in small cities that some people are like, what is out there? I'm like, dude, check it out. Like, you know, go out there and see what's going on. Recently I went to Albuquerque, New Mexico. I never had any desires to go to New Mexico, but like, what's out there? But like, it was cool because I got to make like an extra like little trip. I checked out this really cool park called like White Sands. It's beautiful. It's in the San Andreas Mountains, and the sands look like it's snow. Right? It's gorgeous to like take pictures. It's just like, you know, you get to enjoy all that stuff, and then on top of that, like you get and check out these nightlife markets that you didn't even know existed, never went through your head whatsoever. But yeah, like I said, Nebraska, a lot of people are like, what's out there? It's like, oh, it's a bunch of cornfields. But yeah, the cities have these small little cities, they have these cool little nightlives. I mean, people want to party. So it's just like, get out there, do it.
What are some of the ways that you kind of break into some of these markets? I know for you, it's a little different because you do have a lot more connections. Your name is much bigger than, you know, a lot of the people that might be listening to this. But what are some strategies that you use to kind of break into some of these smaller markets? Because I love that idea. Like, don't go after the biggest markets, but if you want to get traveling, maybe you focus on some of the B markets, right? And get traveling a little bit, and then you could work your way into the Miamis and the Austins and the LAs.
Yeah. What would I say? Yeah, for me it was a little bit different because people knew who I was in that sense.
Yeah.
But
are you like actively DMing people or emailing people or hitting up bookers to get into these markets?
No, not really.
All right, so you're lucky. That's awesome.
If I'm gonna be sincere, I should be a little bit more aggressive with that. I should be, you know, DMing or emailing certain bookers at times, you know, to get into specific markets. But sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to get into that one. Like I'll email them, I'll message them. And like, I kind of put it on the back burner and I never do it. And then like, it's kind of bad. So I am working on that, trying to do that a little bit more. But I would say if you're trying to get into different markets, obviously one of the things you might have to do is probably travel to that market without a booking, maybe at the beginning. You know, if you're like, hey, there's a specific city I want to play in, there's a specific nightclub I want to go there, maybe take a weekend off, and go there, check it out. Make friends with the DJs. Obviously, not in an annoying way, but be out there, support them. Buy the DJ a drink. Obviously they drink. Things of that sort. Commend them. Obviously, not in an annoying way, because sometimes when we're working, we're just kind of like, leave me alone. I don't want I don't want to be bothered. At least that's how we feel. Obviously, we don't present that. You don't want to present that kind of way, because then people are like, "Oh, the DJ was such a jerk." Like, you don't look like that. You got to smile and like put on a face like, "Hey, what's going on? Get away from me," But I'd say do that. Work with the promoters, the bookers. If the venue has a booker or a venue owner, talk to them. Show them, like, if you have an EPK, that's an important thing. Have an electronic press kit, with all the different venues that you DJed before, your accomplishments, and don't be afraid to like boast it, because obviously it's kind of like it's a resume. That's what it really is. So you want to show all your best aspects to that market in order, if you're going to sell yourself. Show that to them, say like, hey, I would love to come out here in the city. I love the nightlife, stuff like that. But if you can, go out to eat with them. I say food is like a huge thing. Like food, like always, like, believe it or not, creates friendships, So, because like, who doesn't love to eat, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to, like, maybe go out to eat with them, create a friendship with that venue owner, that booker, that promoter, that DJ that's there, you can create a sincere friendship. And the thing is, you want to create a sincere friendship with them. So don't go out there maybe necessarily thinking like, hey, I'm only hanging out with them to get a booking, because I always say it's always nice to enlarge your work circle when it comes to things like that. By doing so, like, eventually maybe down the road, they're like, hey, we're having this kind of event and we were having several DJs, or we wanted a specific DJ, and we know that you work this kind of market or this kind of style of music, and you came up to our mind, we want to get you in here. So it's you have to do the legwork, like we had spoken about before, in order to do that. I think that helps a lot. Another thing is, I would always say, if you're a DJ and you want to distinguish yourself, start to produce, make edits. You may not make any money off of it at first, but submit them to record pools, and people might be like, "Oh, hey, I got your edit. It was dope. It helped my set. It popped off the dance floor," and then your name slowly starts to get renowned. Known. A DJ that I know that helped jumpstart his career incredibly was Beatbreaker. Beatbreaker wasn't even playing in the New York markets, right, at all, when he was making his edits on Crooklyn Clan, and he got called to do tours in Asia. So, he was DJing at all these big, huge nightclubs out there before he started DJing in New York.
He's Paris Hilton's DJ now.
Yeah.
We had him on the show too. He's one of those guys that we both have played with and opened for when he was more in Jersey, New York. But yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about regional, traveling to DJ and how you've lived in different regions and different cities. So I want to know, it's obviously influenced probably your DJ sets, your music selection, your production, right? But I want to know, which one do you feel like which region has influenced you the most, if any? And you can pick one for DJing and one for production. Because you've had to pick up a little something along the way, right? From every single one of them.
Yeah, I did. I'd say the region that I've had most influence is here. Is Texas. LA would be number 2, because a lot of people, before I even lived in LA recently, they thought I lived in LA. So for some weird reason, maybe it's because I was in LA all the time. So I don't know. But I'd say Texas has been a huge support factor. I love the DJs out here, the bookers, the promoters. They've showed an incredible amount of love towards me, and helped to push my career when it comes to the Midwest. I think if I would have never moved out here, I wouldn't have gotten that kind of exposure at all, especially living on the East Coast. I feel like the East Coast is so competitive. I mean, each market is very competitive, but the East Coast is so ridiculously competitive. It's so hard. There's like more DJs there than there is anywhere else. Really. So it's just kind of like a DJ on the East Coast is almost a dime a dozen. Um, and it's really hard to get, into specific markets. But Texas, obviously, being such a huge state and having such huge, cities like San Antonio, you got Houston, you got Dallas, you got Austin, stuff like that. These are four huge cities. I mean, they're in the top 10 largest cities in the U.S. They've helped to increase my exposure a lot. And I mean, I'd say it helped a lot with my editing. I mean, my production as well as my DJing. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of my DJ success has been mostly based off of my production and edit work itself. So these DJs know like, oh, I use all your music for my sets. Why don't you come and play here? Kind of thing. So the guy who's behind the veil making these things, like, let's bring him in, kind of thing. So I think that's helped me a lot. And like I said, Texas has been a huge one. LA's been another one. The LA region, San Diego's been another big one too. So when it comes to that, even Vegas, I guess I'd put Vegas like number 3 or 4, out there too, because for a time, for about a year, maybe 2, I was a radio DJ in Vegas. So yeah.
Been all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, we linked because of edits, right? Like, I hit you up. I'm like, yo, Alex, what's up, man? I just want to say what's up. Like, I love your music. I play your stuff. Like, we have a podcast. Like, let's talk.
Yeah.
And that was really it.
Yeah, I've seen, like, there's so many record pools now. I've seen you guys' stuff. Cream, particularly your stuff there. I also liked how you did your content on social media. Like, a lot of times, a lot of your pictures are like black and white, and you use like the red color, like you'll put X's and O's and stuff like that, like in different areas. And normally, like, you would think like, why does he do X's and O's? But for some reason, it's like catchy. It looks catchy. It's appealing to the eye. So somebody wants to check out your profile. It looks very professional. It looks very, very good as well. So some of that stuff I didn't apply, obviously, stuff like that, but there were certain things that I did like about the aesthetic of like your profile and stuff like that. And I saw that like you're always constantly working and you got edits. I think, you used to do like email blasts with edits, right? Or you still do that?
I haven't as much anymore. I think I just created like a little VIP that I'm just going to send a Dropbox file to, like all the other editors. But DMP is like more taking care of me more and more and more. And I don't want my stuff to be anywhere else because, I think a big part of what they're building over there is they're exclusive artists. So I want to make sure that I do right by them. And so like, I don't send my stuff out to anybody anymore. For a while, I was sending out to all the record pools like 6 months later, but I'm not even doing that anymore.
Yes.
So yeah, I got to get the VIP list going. But yeah, one of my strategies was, like you said, when I first started making edits and sending them to all the DJs that were like really playing all the big spots in my market. And that would be the first thing they would always say, like, oh shit, you're Cream. Like, I have a whole folder of shit on my Serato. And like, that was one way. So I just took that a step further. Like, let me start collecting all the dope DJs and editors in the country and start sending them my stuff literally every single week. So even if they don't download it every single week, they see my name and they start to associate it with someone who's producing music, someone who's on the scene and like trying to grow or doing their thing. So that was always part of my strategy. Same thing with the Instagram, like make sure it looks good. So when someone does go to the page, they're like, oh, this guy's like really doing it. He's playing big clubs. He's making music and like he cares about his brand. So yeah, that was all stuff that I always thought about as I was kind of trying to grow, and still trying to do.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on there. You can even do that, not just with DJs, but you can do that with like major artists. One of the artists that you could do that a lot with, he's probably not going to email you unless you make something like super, super hot. He might send you a message, like an email back, like, this is hot, send more, or something like that. It's like Diplo. Yeah. A lot of people send stuff to Diplo because they want to get an opportunity. And that's like something that you can do with like different artists. I've done that with like Afro Bros. I've done that with like Diplo, obviously. I've done that with big name guys. Like I'll go into profiles and I'll just send it to their emails, and obviously I don't get any answer. But later on, guess what? I check 1001 track list, and there it is. One of my tracks is being played by this guy. You know,
Yeah.
so that's all exposure out there. So it's just something I just wanted to highlight, you know, to the DJs out there if they wanna also apply that too.
Yeah, I love that. And it's something we've talked about a lot, is just like having a email list, right? Like I said, I'm going to make that VIP list. I have the artist list. I have the local DJ list. It's like, do spend a day and build that out. And like down the line, when you start producing stuff, send it, you know, if you're not promoting yourself, who's going to promote you, type of thing. So you got to send your music and whatever else you're doing out into the world.
Yeah, definitely do. You got to do the legwork. Nobody's going to do it for you.
All right. So Gary, let's transition over to, you know, being such a great Latin editor. I want to talk a little bit about just how like the Latin culture, especially with Bad Bunny being the biggest artist on a planet, is really creeping over into just pop culture. And do you recognize that? Do you see it? Do you appreciate it?
Are you getting sick of it?
Yeah.
That's what I really want to know.
Is it long overdue?
That's a subject. I'm kind of like, I guess I have so many like thoughts about it, because like, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm Latino. I don't know if people know I'm Colombian. So I have been, well, just to reiterate, I haven't always, let's say, I'm not really considered, I guess, as a Latin DJ, but I do focus a good amount of that. I'm really technically open format. So, and I've done that for like since the beginning of my career. I started in '99. So I've done it for that long. But obviously being Latino, you know, that's a huge thing. And listening to all this music growing up, and seeing it creep over into the mainstream, like, yeah, obviously, like, I'm proud to be a Latino, and you know that the biggest, you know, artist on the planet is a Latino, you know, things of that sort. And I love it that Latin music has gone mainstream. So like, you know, even like you go to Vegas or you go to Miami or you go to like, you can go to Dubai or like any place like on the planet now, and you'll hear Latin music. Like it transitioned over into house music. Like a lot of these like old school like 1960s, like 1970s, like Latin songs, they've been like transitioned into like house tracks now. You'll hear the hooks on them and you're like, this is like a really old, like really old song. Like this is like what my grandparents used to listen to. And now like this is crazy, right? So I'm loving it. But at the same time, I get a little bit tired because I think when something goes mainstream, it loses a lot of its quality. So I'm thinking back, like for instance, reggaeton. Reggaeton is like huge right now. I say probably mostly because of Bad Bunny, right? Even though he started more like Latin trap or anything like that, but obviously he adapted to reggaeton. I feel like the reggaeton today is it's very tough to find ones that are not flat. They're very flat. I feel like these songs are made in like 5 minutes and just cranked out the door. You know, they're just pushing content out. So it's kind of like, let's say you get 200 new songs came out this week, maybe 2 or 3 are good, right? To play that actually have energy. And that's the thing that I used to love from back, like, you know, early 2000s. Early 2000s when I would like play in markets, you know, on the East Coast, you know, in Philly or like PA or even in Jersey and in New York, you know, stuff like that. I'd play in these markets, like maybe smaller ones. And I'd play like these Latin parties or put Latin into my sets. Like the reggaeton was like way more energetic. It was way up there, right? Now the new ones are like kind of like, it's like flat. It's like flatlining the whole time. And it's just kind of like, it's almost like a filler track. And that's the only thing that like I've seen that it has a negative impact on with the music right now. But I mean, like, you know, then again, the same thing has happened with like hip hop. You guys remember hip hop? Hip hop used to have so much like energy in it. It had like, you know, throwback samples in it. Maybe the drums and the 808s weren't as hard, you know, as it is today, right? but the tracks had like, you could hear like brass, you could hear trumpets, you could hear like an actual melody was built. Now it's just kind of like ambient sounds in the background. I could build a super big like triple platinum track in like 4 layers, right? Like vocal, ambient sound, maybe like some percussion elements here, kicks, and an 808. There you go. But
yeah, heavy hats.
yeah, heavy hats the whole time. It's like
Yeah.
that's all you hear is like these little things. It's almost like little whispers going on, and the rappers aren't even in between the bars. They're going off bars. They don't even care anymore, right? Some of their stuff doesn't rhyme. It's just kind of like, and it's like, oh, it's a hit. So it's just like, I guess the same thing has transitioned over to different genres as well. And I've noticed that a lot in the Latin culture now, especially since it's gone mainstream. It's I guess since there's so much need for it and new stuff that producers just can't keep up with trying to put as much effort into a track. So they'll just like push out these tracks that are just like, I don't want to say mediocre, but just kind of like not where they need to be, in particular.
It's just the ease of everything right now. And then also the speed of how everyone consumes everything, no matter what, there's music or movies or like the just the speed of like of consumption leads to that. And then also on the other side of that, the ease of making a beat where I could sit down at my computer and I didn't have to go to the record store and find a sample that I wanted and then record 8 bars of it and then go find another record that I like the drums off of and then go, because I actually, Cream and I were talking about this, that those like production breakdowns that are like reels and TikToks, and it shows you the original and it breaks down how the producer went and
samples,
put together
grabs
the song.
Yeah.
I that's a huge effect. It's a big effect. The fact that it took weeks to make a beat back in the day, like that's your quality was going to step up a little bit. And it's just so easy right now to get your stuff out there. You don't have to go through a label. You don't have to go through those what used to be conventional ways. And now you can just throw it out there in the world and see if it sticks, right?
Yeah.
So
Splice has changed the game also. Like
yeah.
there, you could literally, you don't have, there's sample for anything you could ever want at your keyboard. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, that has helped. There's a bunch of other ones, but I think Splice is like probably the biggest one. I mean, you can download like your DAWs, your VSTs, your plugins, everything like that you want, all from there. Plus, like you have samples, you have sounds that you want. It's like it's been great. So everything is like instant. Like Gary was saying, like we live in a world where everything is instant. It's like I remember the days where I used to go to Blockbuster Video, right? It'd be like the weekend, and I'd be like, all right, what am I gonna do today? Like I'm gonna watch a movie and I'm gonna order a pizza. Like I'll go across the street, I'll order a pizza while the pizza's being made. I'll go to Blockbuster and maybe I'll rent a couple movies, kind of thing. And you'd have to sit there and like you'd actually look at the movie, look at the cover, back at read about it, see what the movie was about, things of that sort. You take time, and I feel like you enjoyed that more. Now everything's like, oh, it's on streaming, boom, instant download, doom, 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 doom. Same thing with music. Like you got Spotify, you got Apple Music, everything's instant. So music obviously has to be cranked out that quick, that fast, and a song may be a hit like today, and next week it's like flat, like nobody cares about it anymore.
Right.
So it's kind of like it's had its positive aspects, but I think it's also had a negative impact in that sense. Like we don't get to appreciate the little things anymore. We have to like go kind of thing the entire time.
Yeah.
So
all right, go ahead.
Okay. No, you go, Gary. Go.
So to go back to really quick to go back to the Bad Bunny thing, and as somebody who's not so knowledgeable and like really super into current Latin music, if Bad Bunny like stopped making music, like who would be next up in your eyes?
Oof, that's a tough one.
That's a big question, but like within Latin music, like not to say that person's going to be the next Bad Bunny in the pop world, but like who deserves the next shot, right? I think that's probably a better way to frame it.
It's kind of difficult to say at this point because nobody's like really there. The one that was like up there for a long time was J Balvin. It was like J
Yeah.
Balvin, Bad Bunny, J Balvin, Bad Bunny, and like they even did an album together, you know. But certain things happened recently with J Balvin's career that like negatively impacted him, and I feel like he kind of like went back into the shadows, you know, because of it. Um, the next ones that would be up, I don't have particular say one specific artist. The three of them pop in my head in particular. One is Carol G.
Yeah.
She's blowing up pretty good, specifically being a female artist. Another one is Raul Alejandro.
That's who I would have said.
Yeah, Raul Alejandro is another one, but a lot of people like they're still discovering him. And the other one who like is like creeping out, like, and he's bringing out some bangers is Setch. So he's a Panamanian artist. So, and we haven't had a Panamanian artist in a long time. I mean, the last one was El General, right?
Yeah.
And he's probably El General is like the father of, you know, reggaeton, I guess you could say, because he started the Spanish rap era or the Spanish reggae era. You know, it was like pre-reggaeton era kind of thing. So I'd say those three artists are the ones that, you know, that step up there, but none of them really are like at the condition like Bad Bunny, like that they could take that mantle.
I don't think anybody is like any genre. Drake, that's about it. We've talked about the Drake versus Bad Bunny thing on this pod before, but yeah. So how has it affected your sets? I know you are an open format DJ. You have done some Latin parties, but for me personally, I find that I'm playing more reggaeton, more guaracha, a lot more dembo lately. Even in my mainstream, like even like bar stuff, I could play it anywhere. So how is it affecting your daily DJ life?
I guess I'd have to say that in most markets, I have to like incorporate some kind of Latin. For instance, I've DJed in cities where I didn't think there was any like Latin influence at all whatsoever. And I've always had to incorporate at least Bad Bunny or like, you know, some random artist, you know, out of nowhere, you know, that's Latin. So I always have to have a mentality that even if it's like a set, let's say I get booked for a gig and it's like pretty much like big room or EDM, I still got to play Latin music into it somehow. Like whether it's an EDM remix or, you know, big room, house, whatever, stuff like that. I still have to find some way to incorporate it into it. Sometimes like it doesn't even have to be like that. Sometimes they just want like that reggaeton track or that dembo track in there. It's like randomly out of nowhere. So I think that every market has like, you have to like anywhere you go, you have to have, you know, a couple of songs prepared for that. Wherever you may go. So it's because like even Vegas, like these big rooms like Omnia, you know, Zook, Tao, you know, Marquee, all these, you know, these places, you got to play Latin music now. So I think you just have to make sure that you're up to date, especially with the more current stuff in the Latin world. And I say Spotify helps a lot with that. They have great playlists on what's current and what's hitting, you know.
I use Spotify all the time. I was telling Gary before this, I don't know, play more stuff in New York City and all the drill music, the hip hop New York City drill music. It's like I had to build out a folder just specifically drill with all the drill artists. And I was naming some of the artists and Gary's like, I don't even know who that is. But yeah, use Spotify to help build that playlist out. Same thing for any genre, private events, all that stuff. Spotify is such a great tool for that.
Yeah. So DJs, if you don't have Spotify, at least get a free account.
All right, Gary, you want to move into the quick hitters here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so a couple quick hitters, you know, a couple sentences for each question, and then we'll wrap up here. So I know we talked about all the different cities you lived in and all the cities you play in. What is your favorite city to DJ in?
Oh, I knew that one was coming. I knew that. Wow.
Top three. You can go top three if you want.
Top three. Oh boy. I know the thing is like being in this scenario, it's like I hope some of the cities that book me don't hear this podcast. But they're like, oh, we didn't make the cut. Like,
Listen, we like all the places we play. All right.
yeah. So, let's just say I love all the places I play at.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite party that you've played that like sticks out big time in your mind?
I wouldn't say a particular party that I play that that is my favorite, but I say like energy wise, probably at the top of the list is like Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas has an amazing energy. It's a huge college crowd, college city, college town. So their energy for like music to party is just crazy. It goes from like starts from like 3 o'clock in the afternoon till like 4 o'clock at night in the morning. So it's insane. Like I love their energy that they have. It's a very big bar scene. There's not a lot of nightclubs. There's a huge ton of like 80, 90 bars or something like that in Austin. So it's a lot, but their energy is like incredible. So I love playing there. It's one of the cities that I say I get great feedback on. Another one would be San Antonio. A lot of people dismiss San Antonio, but San Antonio is a good one, and specifically some of the venues I play. I love the energy of the crowd. Same thing. It's very similar to Austin in that sense. I think that's why I stuck a lot in Texas. One that I recently untapped a lot was Dallas. Dallas also has a huge energy to their, I played at this one club and it was like 4,000 people and the energy was insane. Like the whole dance floor was like up and down, like dancing and jumping. It was just crazy. The feeling was just amazing. Right. I'd say them. Not to dismiss the other cities, because like for instance, like Miami has great energy. New York City has great energy as well. And even certain parts of Vegas have pretty good energy as well. And then like I feel like every market does, but I'd say I think that's why I stood so long here. When I stuck by in Texas for so long was because the different cities had great energy, and I've seen a lot of the bigger DJs have now flown in to try to tap those markets. Like they get booked a lot, in Texas now and stuff like that because the reaction of those scenes are really good.
Nice.
I think it's got to be like an advantage of just having all those major cities. What are they? 2-hour flights between cities in Texas?
So San Antonio and Austin are like next to each other. So
yeah.
They're an hour away from each other driving. So you wouldn't fly for those. But like Dallas is maybe about 45-minute hour flight. From any one of those two. A lot of people would just drive, stuff like that. Houston's like same thing. So it's another hour flight, stuff like that. So yeah, it's a huge state. It's like I drive 10 hours on the East Coast and I drove through 8 states, so like that. I drive 10 hours in Texas and I'm like halfway through the state. So yeah.
Definitely something you can, that you use to your advantage. It's amazing. It's nice to have that versatility and have those different cities to go to.
I gotta give you one more follow-up on favorite city, because to me, anytime I travel, I'm always looking up like, all right, what's the food that I gotta go hit in like the different cities? And I'll go out of my way to like make sure I get into the city so I could go hit the barbecue spot or, like the sushi spot or whatever it is. So like, is there one of those that sticks out that has like the food spot? I know Austin's crazy food scene.
Yeah, Austin has a great food scene. I love it there. I think all of them do. But Austin, everybody knows Franklin's, stuff like that. There's another spot that recently over like the last year we've untapped is like LA Barbecue. I don't know if it's LA Barbecue or La Barbecue. I don't know which one it counts for, but they have a crazy line around the corner. They have great barbecue there. So it's like good there. San Antonio has great like all around food. Like it has untapped like areas of like great Mexican food there. I'd say, but I think that's mostly like all of Texas. Texas has great barbecue and great Mexican food. When it comes to that, like if I think LA, I'm thinking more like Asian food. more like sushi. I'm thinking more like stuff like that, like,
Korean barbecue.
Korean barbecue, stuff like that. If I'm going to like New York, I'm thinking kind of like more like well, New York is so diverse, it's so international. So it's like, but a lot of people think like pasta, Italian,
Yeah,
when they go to New
pizza
York.
for sure.
Pizza.
So yeah, for sure. They also think of like some Mediterranean food as well. So if you go to Miami, you're thinking more like, Cuban food, stuff like that, like stuff that's from out there.
Getting hungry just talking about it.
I know.
I haven't eaten today, guys. I've been up since 4 a.m.
I haven't either, so I'm in the same boat as you right now.
All right, so we'll do 2 more quick ones and we'll wrap. But what's some advice that you would give a DJ that's either looking to break into the industry or looking to kind of like level up?
Wow, there's so many things that you can think of. Like I said, in the beginning, just go out to those venues, go out to those locations that you want to play at. Get to know the DJs there, get to know the bookers, create friendships, authentic ones. I'm not talking about ones that are just based on like, I want to get booked and you only hit them up for try to get bookings and stuff like that. No, people are very like, there's a lot of genuine, authenticity in the market, but there's also a lot of people who are fake, right? So you don't want to be one of those fake people. You want to be genuine. That's how people end up loving you. That's how people create real friendships with you. And it's not to get something out of it, because like maybe you may build a friendship with that person and you'll never get a booking out of it, but you built, a nice, good friendship with them, right? And maybe through them, you'll make other friendships and you'll end up getting bookings through other people that they may know or they may be in contact with. So you never know. Just like be open to doing that. So it's like, if you want to work in a specific market, go out there, get to know people, make and create friendships, create relationships, stuff like that. Another thing is, obviously not all DJs are going to do this, because like a lot of DJs don't have the concentration for it. Or some of them like work 6 nights a week or 7 nights a week, and they just kind of like DJ and they sleep, DJ and sleep, DJ and sleep. So they don't have time to do this. But if you have time and you can make time, make some edits, make some blends, push them out to the record pools, or send them out to maybe an editor, a remixer, a producer, something like that. Send it to them. Be like, hey, what's good with this? I want to learn how to produce. Why? Because your music will get out there to other DJs. A lot of those DJs are also bookers. Some of them are venue owners, and they'll get your name around. If you start producing great stuff, guess what? Maybe you'll get several bookings out of it. So get your name out there in as many ways as you can possible, but you got to do the legwork. You have to work. You can't do lazy. There's no halfsies, stuff like that. Instagram, obviously, and TikTok and stuff like that is a great way to use as a resume. But just because you get 100,000 followers or 10,000 followers or whatever doesn't mean that you're going to get automatic bookings. A lot of that stuff is kind of like, a facade. It's just kind of like, it looks good, stuff like that. But like when it comes down to the end of the day, if a booker does want to check out, what you're doing, or how you do in the industry, they're going to check out your Instagram. They're going to check out your TikTok. They're going to check out, your social media platforms and see where you've been, what you played, like how often are you up to date with your content? How many likes do you get? Though a lot of people now hide those likes. How many views do you get? Is your stuff trending? Things of that sort. It's a lot of work. You're not just a DJ. You're not just an artist, in that sense. You're, like I said, you're a manager. You're a social media marketer now. You're a graphic designer. You're a photographer, because you're taking pictures. Sometimes, like a lot of the pictures on there, I had to buy a camera. Like I'll put the camera on there and I can remote, with my phone into the camera, and I'll take pictures in certain angles, and boom, it's great content for my social media, right? I mean, playing in a venue. Why? Because maybe that venue didn't want to they spent all the money on me and they didn't have money for a, photographer or a videographer or something like that. So guess what? I'm investing in myself by doing that. So that's another thing. Invest in yourself. All those things I could tell to a DJ, not that's just trying to get into the market, but also trying to like ascend and push themselves up further.
Love
Perfect.
it. Yeah,
Perfect.
love that. I think we wrap there, Gary. I think that was a great way to end.
Absolutely. I agree with
that was awesome, man. And we really appreciate you jumping on here. Is there anything that you want to promote? Anything you have coming up? We're going to link all your stuff in the show notes and, you know, on all the socials when we post stuff out, but.
Well, obviously if they want to follow me on social media, Instagram, I'm Alex Dynamix, the DJ. So if they want to check me out there, all my other platforms is DJ Alex Dynamix, instead of Alex Dynamix, the DJ. That's the only one for some weird reason. Cause, I've had several social Instagram accounts because, you know, music things, they like close them down, but Alex Dynamix, the DJ there. I'm also on Spotify, Apple Music, stuff like that with my original songs. I have remixes coming out now as well on there. So just look for Alex Dynamix on there. I'm actually building myself up more like a house, you know, producer at this moment, electronic producer as well, because obviously that's my roots. So not saying I'm going to step off the Latin scene. So don't get that wrong. So DJs don't go crying thinking I'm not going to make you some Latin edits anymore.
Gary would have no music to play.
I'd have to retire my Latin nights.
Yeah. So like I'll still make them. Don't worry, guys. 'Cause I love all kinds of music. You know, like I said, I love playing everything. So, but yeah. So that's a big thing. I'm trying to push on my artist side now more than ever, and I'm pushing really hard in 2023 for that, so that I could, I guess, expand on that side more. So yeah, I'd say those are the two biggest things.
We'll link everything in the show notes, guys. Go in there, check it out. You know, follow Alex on all his platforms and download all his mixes and edits and whatnot, because it'll be beneficial to your sets for sure.
And
yeah.
The final thing I want to say is, after all the things that you've accomplished and all the things you've done, you listen, you're still hungry. You still want to grow. You still need to get better. You want to get into more places. Like it's a never ending grind, whether you have never DJ'd out ever, or you're Alex and you're playing in all these cities all over the country. So just remember that, and that grind never stops. So
no, never stops. Just keep
Alex,
grinding.
man, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you guys for listening. Again, if you guys want to go check out DMP, we have a link in the show notes, $9.99 for your first month. So shout to DMP, shout to Headliner Music Club. Also, we love Headliner, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace out.
Peace, guys.
Thanks, guys. See ya.